Yo, what is up guys? Mental Muscle Coach here. And this video is all about the most sinister manipulators walking among us, dark empaths. Fact of the matter is, when it comes to the human mind and how our psychology is expressed in a variety of ways, it's not only important for us to understand the different elements of how our behaviors can manifest, but it's also important for us to understand how the intricacies of other people can manifest and how those things can ultimately affect us. And so when we look at the different types of pathology, when we look at the different issues and the different, idiosyncrasies, if you will, that other people can express, we have to understand that manipulation is one of the most dangerous and important concepts for us to understand in the relational context. Virtually all of us have experienced chronic manipulators in our lives, whether it be family members, friends, especially in toxic relationships, where people are able to leverage certain elements of our emotions, certain elements of our thoughts or attachment to them in order to get us to serve their goals, in order to get us to do things that they want us to do. And as a matter of fact, it's necessary for us to say that all of us have some level of manipulation within us, but there are some people who are absolutely masters of this, not only because of how good they are at employing that tactic, but also because they're able to do it without us even knowing it. Now, we talk about narcissists being able to manipulate people. We talk about psychopaths and their danger in regards to how they're able to manipulate people, because they can get us to believe them. They can get us to trust them simply because of the way that they're able to, mirror their emotions and things like that. But there are other groups of people that are walking among us that we don't even realize their capacity to employ this kind of darkness and this kind of danger. Before I get into the main topic of this concept, or this video rather, which is dark empaths, I want to talk about one of the scariest groups of people that even led me into studying dark empaths, which is a group called the dark triad. Now, people within the dark triad, or people who express traits of the dark triad, are some pretty scary MFers, because ultimately they show signs or elements of three different types, where they show elements of narcissism, which is characterized by grandiosity, pride, lack of empathy, egotism. They show elements of psychopathy, that immense lack of empathy, that immense lack of emotional connection to other people and the pain and experiences that other people have. But they also show Machiavellianism, which is characterized by manipulation, a lack of empathy, a lack of morality, and a complete disdain, or rather they feel that other people's emotions and issues are irrelevant to them. And so when you see a person with Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissistic characteristics all in one, they ultimately represent a dark triad person. Now that's pretty freaky. But the thing about the dark empaths, that in my opinion, they are even scarier, because first of all, how can you be a dark empath? Because we feel like someone who is an empath, they have this immense ability to express empathy. They're able to put themselves in other people's shoes. So they not only understand the situations that people are in, they understand the complexity of emotions that people experience, but they really resonate with it. They identify with it in a deep way. And so empaths can make you feel understood, and they can make you want to trust them in a way that is just clear and overwhelming because of this connection that they can have and this deep understanding of your emotions and existential experience. But when it comes to a dark empath, how is it that can be possible? It's because there's different types of empathy, if you will, or rather there are different abilities that can mirror empathy, because empathy is an emotional element. When someone is truly empathetic, they're able to identify with your emotions. But there is something called cognitive empathy, where someone is able to intellectually and mentally model emotions. They can have an intellectual understanding of emotions. And so let's say, for example, this person's been around you for a long time, and they're able to understand cognitively how your emotions are expressed and how different things resonate for you inwardly. One of the greatest differences between a true empath and a dark empath is that an empath actually identifies with your emotions on the level of their emotions. So there is a deeper awareness there. There is a deeper resonance with your emotions in their awareness. But when it comes to a dark empath, they are cognitively understanding how your emotions manifest, but they're not emotionally identifying with it themselves. And so they're able to make you feel like you understand them. They're able to make you feel like you see them, or they see you rather, and they truly feel you. They truly get you. And so it creates this feeling of trust, this feeling of understanding, this feeling of being seen. However, they understand it cognitively, and so they have cognitive empathy, but not true empathy. This is the kind of thing when somebody says to you, it makes sense that you would feel that way. I understand why you were hurt by my actions, as opposed to, wow, I really see how what I did to you really affected you and it triggered your trauma. I'm so sorry. I really feel the depth of the suffering that I caused in my mistake. You see the difference between those two? One of those, there's a real awareness, there's a real connection to the emotion. Whereas when it comes to cognitive empathy, it's just like, oh yeah, I see why you feel that way. It's not quite as satisfying, and in fact, it's actually really dangerous. Because even though most people can express a level of cognitive empathy, the danger with dark empaths, or rather the increased danger with dark empaths, is that they are able to so effectively model the emotions of other people that it can look and feel and sound and appear like real empathy. And so as a result, they can awaken the same emotions in you, like trust, like understanding, like deep attachment, as if they were a true empath. However, they're only cognitively understanding it, so they don't really connect with you on that level. But on top of that, the dark empath also has negative traits. They can also be very selfish. They can also be very self-focused. It could also be very immature in regards to how they engage with others and in response to what those people can be doing for them. And so they become some of the most effective manipulators that could possibly be walking around us, and yet you don't know that they're like that. Imagine someone manipulating your emotions for their own selfish means, but you almost don't want to believe it because you're saying to yourself, no, I know that this person cares. I know that this person sees me. They've expressed a real connection, a real level of empathy towards my existential experience. And so how could they be manipulating me? And so it makes you start second guessing yourself. You start asking yourself questions. You start not wanting to commit to the awareness, the truth that in fact they are a dangerous person in your life, because they've given you signs that make you feel as if they're trustworthy. And so we really need to take away from this that just because we see a behavior from a person, just because it feels as if it's real, just because it's giving us a sensation that we can connect to feelings of trust or feelings of understanding, we can't guarantee that that's in fact what's happening. And so I'm not saying this so that you would become, jaded, or you would become, overly skeptical when you engage every single person in your life. But what it's saying is we really need to become more intentional about how and when and who we imbue our emotions with. We need to be careful, especially those of us who, identify as, a big-hearted person, or a person who really likes to be loving, who really seeks connection. A lot of us, especially those who got that way because they've gone through trauma or they've gone through certain things that made them prioritize connection, we really need to be careful about throwing our 100% into a connection with a person or with a group or with an entity before we've come to understand the full scope of their psychology. And so, no, don't be jaded. No, don't be overly skeptical. Just go into all engagements with eyes open, because think about how complex you are. Think about how amazing you are at sometimes, but think about how many times you're really employing some things that you're not proud of, whether you're being manipulative, whether you're being really selfish. And understand there's no such thing as a good person. There are only people that imbue, or rather that represent, a wide range of complex elements of behaviors. And so take things on a contextual basis. Love people for who they are, but don't just assume that every single element of them is amazing simply because they're showing you certain behaviors or signs that they've got some good shit inside of them. So, hey, I love you guys. Like, share, and spread the word, y'all. Peace.